Hi you guys, welcome back. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy Erickson, and in this video, I'm going to tell you guys how you can turn your work into your spiritual practice. So stay tuned. The definition of karma yoga is the discipline of selfless action as a way to perfection. That is the definition from dictionary.com anyway. And so I want to take a minute here to explain karma yoga and how karma yoga really works. Because years ago, over a decade ago, when I first heard of karma yoga, I really thought it was about just putting in the work so that you can reap the reward. Basically because it has the word karma in it. And of course, my human mind can't help but to want that reward for any work that I put in. Back in 2009 or 2010, when I was a student at the School of Metaphysics, and I went to the College of Metaphysics headquarters in Windyville, Missouri, so that I could attend the all-student weekend. And as a part of this all-student weekend, you are also required to do some duties that they termed karma yoga, which were basically like chores, clean up after yourself before you leave once the weekend is over. So in my early understanding of karma yoga, as I explained earlier, I just thought it was like doing a good deed in the form of work, like chores for, a karmic reward, or basically doing it for what I believed at the time was creating my own good karma. But I was a little wrong, because even while I had a semi-understanding of karma yoga, I really didn't understand it on the deeper level of spirit, which is how it's truly meant to be understood. I was introduced to the Bhagavad Gita through my studies at that School of Metaphysics as well. And in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 3, Lord Krishna actually explains karma yoga thoroughly throughout that entire chapter. Now, if you're not familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, it is a Hindu spiritual text that is basically centered around a battle that is going on between two different factions of a family, the Pandus and the Kurus. And so, in the Bhagavad Gita, Prince Arjuna is the Pandu prince, and he is finding trouble on his heart when it comes to having to go into battle with his family, friends, and community in the form of the Kurus. And so Lord Krishna, his own highest self, comes to him with all of the wisdom of spirit. So, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, under chapter 3, the chapter is actually titled The Secret of Work. And the chapter opens with Arjuna, the Pandu prince, speaking to Krishna, the blessed Lord, saying, O bestower of knowledge, if, as thou hast saith unto me, right thinking is more important than right action, if the thought be superior to the deed, then wherefore dost thou incite me into action? Why dost thou urge me onto this horrible battle with my kinsmen and friends? Thy subtle words and doubtful speech confuse my understanding, and remembrance thereof causeth my brain to spin and whirl unsteadily. Inform me, I pray thee, and inform me with certainty. of the one course that leads toward peace and satisfaction. And of course, Krishna responds. And most of chapter 3 is Krishna's response to Arjuna's inquiry, basically asking about what's more important, right action or right thinking. And some of Krishna's answer is based on the fact that whether it's happening in your physical world or in your mental world, either place, if it's happening, it's happening. So even if you refrain from doing something with your physical body, but yet you are consumed in thought by that very thing, you are the fool because you feel like you are not, I guess, being led by that thing that you didn't want your body to do, but yet your mind is constantly troubled by that very thing, if you know what I mean. So there is really no difference between right action and right thought, because the one is part of the other. So I decided to just take some of Krishna's quotes from chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita and share them with you here. No one, not even for a moment, can remain inactive, for the laws of his nature impel him to constant activity of body or mind or both. Even against his will, he is impelled into action of some kind. There is no escape from the universal law. And another quote from Krishna is, "But he who, expressing his mind in right action through duty, without attachment to rewards, performeth his work in the world. Verily, he is to be esteemed wise and worthy. Act well thy part in the world. Perform well thine allotted tasks. Take hold of that work which lies nearest thy hand, and do it the best that is in thy power to do, and it will be well with thee. Work is far preferable to idleness. The one doth strengthen the mind and body, and is conducive to a long and normal life, while the other doth weaken both body and mind, and leadeth to an impotent and unhappy life of uncertain duration." So the more I ponder on Krishna's words, the more I begin to understand really what karma yoga is all about. And I started to reflect on my life and how it actually works through me. And so for that one of the last two quotes I just read was all about right action through duty. So, and not having attachment to reward. So like I said, my early understanding of karma yoga was all about doing the action or the duty, the chore, but still with somewhat of an expectation of reward. Even though the reward was a karmic reward, it was still an attachment to some type of reward. So in that reflection and in reflecting more and more on Krishna's words saying that you should have no attachment to reward, I started to ponder again, like, what is karma yoga? Because I still don't know if I understand it at the deepest level. So then in this part where it says that, there's constant motion. It's universal law that everything is constantly in motion. So there's never any such thing as inactivity. So that mixed with where Krishna is telling us that work and doing the right action strengthens your mind and body. But if you try to, be idle all the time, then you're weakening your mind and body. How many times have you tried to remain idle all day long, and then when it becomes time to go to bed and get some rest and sleep, you're unable to get to sleep because your mind gets turned on? It's too focused on all of the activity of the day that you actually missed while trying to be idle. So then you're also losing out on your precious rest as your mind is in motion, dwelling on those actions that were not taken in the day. I know that I've had that experience, and I know a lot of you out there have had a similar experience with some type of insomnia, which is basically the inability to shut off your mind because you've been idle. Krishna also says, perform thy tasks for the sake of duty to the real self alone and for no other motive. How am I actually serving my highest self, or how can I serve my highest self when my true motive behind the action that I'm performing was for financial gain? So the more I thought on that, the more I'm like, well, what you have to do is kind of turn it on its head, right? So more of what Krishna said just inspired me. And so the more I kind of started pondering that aspect of karma yoga, how can I take my mundane day-to-day work that I had been doing to earn a paycheck and now turn that into duty for my highest self? So what I came to terms with here is that it is all in your attitude and your intention. That is the true meaning of karma yoga. So karma yoga is not just doing these tasks in hopes that you can gain a better station somehow in life. It is not about earning the paycheck or the money that you can gain from the time you put in. So when you're finally in alignment with karma yoga, when you can finally turn your work into your spiritual practice, that is when you will understand what Krishna is referring to by duty to the highest self. So the example that I'm going to use right now is my 40-hour work week at my normal job versus my job or work that I do here on YouTube. So there was actually this performance at my daughter's dance studio that they had performed that kind of picked up on my thoughts here whenever I'm at work.
Unhappy, unhappy, very unhappy, 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 very, 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 very unhappy.
So I do not have peace or satisfaction in life when I'm always more worried about what else I could be doing. Or, in some way, I just don't feel free when I'm clocked in on a time clock and basically I'm working. I'm giving my time to someone else for gain of some kind, like a physical gain. That is the most least fulfilling work that you can do.
I wanna be a producer with a hit show on Broadway.
Now, on the other hand, when I am working on my YouTube videos and talking to you guys about spiritual things, I feel so uplifted in this work that I do. Now, it is through my work with YouTube where I'm not even being paid to do it, but yet putting in all the hours and all of this creativity all the time for you guys, but yet it's almost like my well isn't running dry. Well, that is because I feel like this is my calling. So therefore, this is me performing a duty in alignment with my highest self. So it was through doing this hobby here on YouTube, that is how I began to really understand what karma yoga really is. So once I began to understand that through my creative work here on YouTube, then I was able to take what I understood now as duty to myself and to my spiritual growth, and I was able to extend that out into my normal 40-hour job, 40-hour work week job. So anyway, now even at work, I can begin to understand that whenever I am tested in my patience, whenever I am tested with frustrations or any of those negative feelings that you get while you are at work, I began to use those as opportunities for soul growth and spiritual development. So, karma yoga is all about taking your own mental intentions and creating the intention for spiritual growth in all things. It is all about bringing your highest self to the forefront of your consciousness so that every single thing that you do in your life, no matter what it is, you are actively working through your highest self. And here's what Krishna says about your highest self. The senses are great and powerful, but greater and more powerful than the senses is the mind. And greater than the mind is the will. And greater than the will is the real self. So, thus recognizing the real self as higher than all, proceedeth thou to govern the personal self by the power of the real self, and thus conquer this foul monster, which is desire, most difficult to seize, and yet possible of being mastered by the real self. So it is by bringing your highest self, your real self, your soul and spirit into your mundane daily tasks, and by using the power of your highest self to train your lower self in right action and right thinking, that is how you can turn your work into your spiritual practice. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to click that like button. And if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I would love for you to click subscribe down below. And once you've subscribed, you can then click the bell to be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.